It's that time of the year. It's a happy, celebratory, festive time of the year. But should it also be coming in with this nature of a festive rush where restrictions are lifted entirely and almost entirely to an extent that it could lead to a drop of guard regarding COVID-19 concerns? Remember, as far as our COVID-19 figures go on a daily basis, they are encouraging. The figures are encouraging here because there is a drop as far as per daily average is concerned. But with that, the government is also encouraged here to lift certain restrictions here. While people can be seen thronging Durga puja pandals across Bengal here, devotees thronging temples, religious places that we've seen in Vijayawada, in Maharashtra, in the state of Maharashtra, places of worship that have reopened from the 7th of October. It's been a couple of days since that started out as well. There is a massive political fight in the build-up to Chhath puja in Delhi. While the state government wants the lifting of restrictions, saying that it's manageable now, Chhath Puja should be allowed as a public celebration, the central government still needs to intervene and decide on that. Apart from all of this, the larger question here is that India across the board is pressing the reset button in largely unlocking in this manner, and the implementation of the basic bare minimum COVID guidelines that we were following in all these months and almost 2 years here. Is it good enough to ensure here that the numbers still continue to stay in control? We're going to be getting in some expert voices here because this is still a big concern. While the country is opening up here, whether or not our level of preparedness is matching up to that or not. Let's in fact get in Dr. Sunila Garg, member of the Lancet Commission COVID India Task Force. Good evening, Dr. Garg. Thank you for being with us here. We are once again discussing COVID-19 concerns, even though this is at a time when the daily average figure has been massively pulled down here. But it's also at a time when we're looking at a festive rush. While people are being advised to be careful about their celebrations, do not do unnecessary travel or stepping out, it seems to be an unavoidable festive rush.
You're absolutely right. Basically, at this point of time, this is a very, very crucial time, and it's also a vulnerable time. Why? Because the festivals are around the corner, and also the government is lifting the bans. We should not forget that the virus has not gone out of our lives. It is there in the country. We are getting cases though we are getting cases in lesser numbers, but we are getting cases. At the same time, you see, our population is not fully vaccinated. Only 40% of the people are the ones who have received one dose, and 20% of the people are the ones who have received 2 doses of vaccine. So, you see, basically, from the perspective of COVID-19, I say that it is a very, very vulnerable time. And there is no compromise between, that we COVID appropriate behavior and lifting the ban. We have to keep a balance, that we have to, lift the ban in a very, very appropriate or in a, manner which I'll say basically that has to be, there's a lot of responsibility of the administration as well. The temples have opened up, the puja pandals have opened up, and also the market rushes beyond imagination. The airlines have also, got now permission to take, almost 100% of the occupancy. So this is quite a vulnerable time, I'll say, and we need to be very, very cautious.
But Dr. Garg, you're part of the COVID India Task Force here. You've set out these warning alarm bells ringing earlier as well. You've set out precautionary measures here. What would you recommend to the government right now? Why is this opening up happening in such a rush? Many would think that this has been a graded response here. But we're also head on with this festive season. What would you tell the government today?
Today, you see, basically my urge to not only the governments but to everyone is that basically follow COVID appropriate behavior. Just, go out when it is necessary, go for pujas, if you can, avoid certain days, go on those days, and, do not create rush. That is important part, because public has also got, a lot of responsibility towards this, because ultimately it is the people who have seen, the surge in the hospitals. They have borne a lot of, problems, so that is where I will say. And my urge to the governments and to the
Absolutely.
administrations, particularly at the
We've lived
district.
through the horrors of the second wave here. But Dr. Garg, how much do you think that this is in the hands of people when governments involved, administrators involved are opening up, instructions are being given that flights run at 100% capacity. We're looking at a rush at airports taking place, and you cannot be maintaining social distancing while sitting in a packed passenger plane. Is it really
Def-
that much in the
I
hands of
think
in the hands of the people,
no,
as
no,
you say, and lesser in the hands of the government?
no. It is equally in the hands of the government and the administration. Administration has to see that the rules are followed. Number one. Number two is that whenever we open up, it is also, you see, as mature citizens, we have to also see. So what we call it as, the government has to make a step further, and also the public has to cooperate equally, because you see, ultimately I feel it is responsibility both ways, but the administration definitely has to ensure that, particularly when we talk of markets, when we talk of puja pandals, when we talk of temples, it is basically, the kind of rush what we are seeing, ultimately it should not become a kind of a third wave, though fortunately in terms of, when we talk of the sero surveys or we talk of vaccination and all, the number of cases may be low, but at the same time we have to be on our vigil, and we should not, use any kind of, I'll say, our COVID appropriate behaviors, should not go for a toss. That is important.
But Dr. Garg, are you seeing that vigil? I mean, we're running up visuals on a daily basis where we're seeing crowding that is happening not just in certain areas. This is happening across states, across the country here, because it's a festive season in each given state, marking a very important time of the year in this festive season. Are you looking at these precautionary measures being taken by people? What's the solution right now?
See, the solution right now is basically, as I said, that if people are not following, it is for the administration to make sure that they follow appropriate rules. That is important. And before the festival time, I remember the Prime Minister himself coming up and telling that, you should not, lose your, or you should not lower your guard. That is important part. But then we have to see that if people are not following, and then you see, we have to see that if we have been closed for 2 years, that is, this is still not the time. We have to follow, all the appropriate precautions. And if the people are not able to comply with that, the government has to come in, I'll say, many steps forward to make sure that, COVID appropriate behavior, but also, you see, the distance, I'll say, the rush at the pandals and all, they have to be, taken into consideration.
Yes, please stay on with us here. We've also opened up our phone lines here. This is the number that is flashing on the bottom of your screens. Please call up on what you think about this opening up, what you feel on how people should be stepping out, and to what extent you feel that this lies as a responsibility of each one of us as individuals as well. As citizens, we need to continue keeping the guard up, irrespective of the announcements that the government does make and a certain level of opening up. As far as opening up flights entirely, pushing it full throttle to 100% capacity, as we had seen as an instruction that came in to the aviation sector here, to what extent we need to hold back, irrespective of opening up that we're seeing around us, to what extent it should be our responsibility as well for us to hold back, not to be stepping out just for the heck of it. Step out only when it's entirely necessary. Even as far as a largely sentimental issue of marking each of your religious festivities here, to what extent should you be stepping out on a daily basis or only for an hour, or do the pujas and the celebrations at home? Are you willing to do that with almost 2 years of lockdown in this manner? Let's get in another expert voice. We have Dr. Narendra Gupta, advisor, Health Prayas, national co-convener as well of the Jan Swasthya Abhiyan. Dr. Gupta, good evening. Thank you for being with us here. Does this nature of a rush, a swell of people in this festive rush amidst the opening up and unlocking that the governments are announcing here as well, does it worry you?
Absolutely, it does worry, and it needs to be worried by everybody, not just by experts and those who are health professionals. Everybody should be worried because they all have seen something very bad had happened once upon a time, means which was a few months back, and means they should not forget about it so easily and so quickly as has been done. And still, the Epidemic Disease Act is in vogue. It has not been withdrawn so far. So the government also should, try to get this information to as many people. Means they should be wide circulation, but then it needs to be done from the front, in the sense like all our senior people, politicians, senior government officers, they all also should showcase to others that they are following the same protocols. And there should be some system of rationalizing, putting things in such manners that the crowding don't happen. These crowdings are also happening because no
Okay.
systems have been put in place, in the sense that people are spread out when they are reaching airport or reaching to other crowding places where crowding could happen, like railway station, bus stands, markets, and so on and so forth. And then you see, the most important thing is that how we, these resident associations or local committees, neighborhood committees, they all begin to act into this. And these have to be activated, that neighborhood committees take decisions about the movement of people in their neighborhood. The families, older people also begin to take, some kind of decision for the entire family, that how that family should go on in terms of following the protocol
Okay.
required
So decisions that need to be taken as an
for
individual at an individual level here. But Dr. Gupta, are you saying that
at
there
all
is a
levels.
dichotomy uh, between what the government announces in terms of unlocking vis-a-vis preparedness on ground?
Absolutely. You know, what happens is that certain announcements are made or policy decisions are taken and the act is invoked. All those things are there. But since now the number of cases have come down, so the people have begun to lower their guards. They seem to have forgotten what they have gone through, and it needs to be, all the time people need to be reminded about that this could happen again. And you see that if the COVID has not gone so far, COVID is there, we are still getting positive cases. And there's always a possibility that there could be lineage or further sublineage and more variants, and all kind of things are possible. Though vaccination has happened to a
But
large
Dr.
extent
Gupta,
of people,
what in your understanding is giving the confidence to the government and respective state governments as well to open up in this manner? Because the national daily average of COVID-19 positive cases has drastically come down.
yeah, but it hasn't gone completely. Means it is there. So if it is there, then one needs to still feel that there's always a possibility that it could flare up. It may not flare up in the entire country at one go. It may flare up in certain pockets wherever there's a possibility of high endemicity. So if that happens, then it will be very difficult to manage it, and then it could reach transmit very fast to other areas also. So what is very important, essential, is that now, since they are already, we have enough information, knowledge, that how we could stop or restrict its transmission. It needs to be followed, and it needs to be followed at all possible places where there is a possibility of crowding, because you never know, any positive person could come. And then there is a whole population below 18 years of age is still unvaccinated. So and they always could transmit. They may not get the disease in its severe form, but they all could infect other people. And those who are immunocompromised, they might have got vaccinated, but still they are vulnerable. So this vulnerable population is quite a number in its country. So it's very, very important that guard should not be lowered. And uh, people in general themselves and the policy makers and our administrators and executives and politicians, they all should themselves follow these rules and showcase it to
Right.
people that we are following it, so everybody else
Absolutely.
also should follow,
These are
and it is
images,
all for the good of everybody.
absolutely leading by
Yeah.
example. Right,
Yes,
and while we
absolutely.
speak to you, Dr. Gupta, these are images that we are playing out of what can be seen as a controlled environment inside an airport here. We do have people wearing masks, but social distancing is not something that's in their hands. This is because of the festive rush, multiple bookings and flight delays, and all
Absolutely.
of that that's caused this rush here. While out on the streets, while people are visiting pandals and temples for festivities and celebrations, social distancing is not possible out there as well, but the bare minimum of wearing the mask, that isn't happening either. Dr. Gupta, Dr. Garg, appreciate you speaking with us here on this evening. While the government goes ahead in announcing unlocking in this manner here, at the end of the day, it's our health, it's in our hands, it's our responsibility here to keep the virus at bay. With that, we're slipping into a very tiny breather. We're back in just a bit here.